So, welcome everyone to the fifth episode of Classback. Today, we have a guest alumnus. He's from the 2012 batch, having a degree in mechanical engineering. He then worked at Mahindra and Mahindra. Thereafter, he completed his MBA in marketing from NM Institute of Management Studies. He then worked with Tata Motors and now is currently working with JLR as a CRM manager. So, without any further delay, let's welcome Mr. Edlebert Fernandes.
Hi guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Albert. How are you?
All good, thanks. Hope you are staying safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing fine. Yeah, so to talk about your college life. So how was your first experience when you came to DBIT, and how did you get along with the people there, and where did that take you along your college path?
So, Don Bosco honestly was a life-changing experience. I mean, you come in fresh from junior college. I'm sure you guys would have also experienced the same when you all
Yeah,
joined. That you come in fresh from junior college. You're not expecting what's going to hit you, like 4 years of dedicated studies and of course a lot of enjoyment. I don't know if
yeah,
you guys do that, but we used to go off to the football ground back then and just play football for hours at on end. Sometimes skip
yeah,
classes also, but yeah, I mean that's how it is. I think right
yeah,
now looking back, those are some good years. You get a lot of time to focus on your studies as well as go off to the mall and just chill with friends and real close ties with good friends, right? I mean, this is the only phase that where you really make some really close friends. I mean, I would say at least in my case, a lot of them have gone abroad, but one big thing about spending time at DBIT was the friends we made. So yeah, I always look back fondly to those years, and also the learning. And I mean, I wouldn't say that I mean everything that I've learned at DBIT has come in handy with the work that I've done later, but the kind of rigor that they put you through in those 4 years and the kind of learning that you get, it definitely adds value in the kind of thinking that you gain even going forward. So I'm grateful to those 4 years at DBIT and for the times that has been there.
and also while you were at DBIT, you had your own band, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Playing for festivals. So how was what was that like?
Oh, so back then, I mean, we were a 6 member band at different points in time. I mean, sometimes five, sometimes six, and over the third year and fourth year, we used to go roaming across college festivals, performing and trying to get gigs on our own. And again, I mean, superb experience when you think about it now that you get to perform at so many live events. So we met Scribed at one. I mean, they were a big band back then. I don't know if they are right now still, but Scribed was a big deal back then, and we got to meet Scribed at one of the events. We got to perform for so many colleges, interact with other good bands, and obviously, I mean that friendship camaraderie that you get when you perform at so many places. Those guys are still very close to me, and it's always good to have like a supportive college who encourages. What do you guys say? I mean, is the college still supportive of such extracurricular activities, or is it just focused on studies right now?
No, I feel like there's a
No,
good balance between
yeah, they gives a lot of
extracurriculars.
fun.
That's nice. That's nice. So yeah, I mean, even back then, the main focus was always on studies, but
Yeah,
being a part of a band, playing football, all these extracurricular interests were always supported, and it was a great experience to just be part of a band and go around the city playing at different gigs.
yeah, that's great. So, post finishing your engineering degree, you worked for Mahindra and Mahindra, right? So,
Yeah,
could
that's
you
right.
elaborate on that phase of your life? So, how was that experience different from college? Like how did you cope with that change?
So here's the thing. I mean, somewhere close to maybe I'll be very frank with you. Somewhere close to mid third year or like early fourth year, I did some serious introspection about where I want to be going forward, and I realized that probably engineering might not be my cup of tea to go ahead in life. I mean, it's added a lot of value to who I am, and it has helped me hone my logical abilities and my especially my math abilities and my quant abilities, which comes in handy in every phase of life. But I wasn't very sure whether I want to do engineering or some related course going forward. The added advantage though is that when you're looking at some other field or some other sphere to get into, uh, having mechanical engineering background or engineering background in general definitely gives that extra edge to you. Although we do have a lot of diversity coming in these days from with other courses being picked other than engineering, there's no doubt that at the end of the day, engineers get a lot of preference because their ability to think in a certain way, right? So
Yeah.
when I was doing that introspection, I realized maybe engineering might not be the best thing for me, and I just landed up at Mahindra interview one fine day for a position which actually was completely sales related. My objective was to mainly get into an automobile organization, at least to start off with. So I said, let's just go for it. What's the worst that could happen? I'll get into sales and let's see where it goes from there. Once I went for the interview, they liked me at the interview. They offered me this position of an officer, and I did some corporate projects which were beyond what other people might probably have gotten with just a sales experience, and that again added value. So here's the thing. I mean, at Mahindra, you get exposed to the corporate environment, and life completely changes, whether it's at Mahindra or whether it's at some other company. The point is, you always want to be open to picking or like going towards the goal that you want to achieve, right? So you need to first introspect and then come back and say, okay, here's what I want to do with my life. It's okay if you don't have the answers, but at least moving in the general direction is necessary. So I think taking that call early on, and let me be frank that alongside engineering studies, I mean, me and my friends, we were preparing for these MBA exams back then, like around the third year.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, things like Byju's and all were very tiny, and we used to go for those classes, sit in the auditorium and study for those exams. But that also added value because I didn't foresee it. I specifically thought that maybe after my engineering, I'll give these exams, maybe go in for an MBA, spend 2 more years, and then get into some other corporate job. But studying at that point in time, when you're in the studying phase, adds a lot of value when you're going to start working at a job, because you don't have the time, right? So I happened to go for these classes at the time of engineering, and it helped me a lot because I was able to give these exams without really needing to study over and over again during my corporate life, and that helped 2 years on when I had to sit for the NM exam. So all in all, Mahindra, if you would ask me, getting into it was a great was like I didn't expect to get into an organization like that, but once I got into it, the kind of exposure that you get learning from corporate life, I think that's going to be very different from what you're going to get in your college, in engineering college. So if possible, if it is possible for you in your engineering life, do go for some internship or some kind of corporate experience, because it adds a lot of value. It adds a lot of value. And yeah, Mahindra, I was at Mahindra for a couple of years, and the kind of people you meet, the kind of thought processes you interact with, the kind of engagements you have with people from all walks of life, right? I mean, you're not just interacting with a small set of people who are from your neighborhood or locality. Now you're interacting with people who've come from different cities, different states, different countries also sometimes. I mean, but in most cases, it's from different parts of the country. And yeah, it definitely adds to your learning. So be open to learning. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my key takeaway.
So like after you worked in Mahindra and Mahindra, you just felt like sales was your thing. So you pursued a thing in MBA like at NM.
So yeah, so once you've gone away from engineering, it's actually quite. I mean, I wouldn't say hard, but it's out of the way to come back to engineering, right? I mean, if you've left for sales and marketing, so it's not going to make sense for you to come back and get into like engineering or design. You can still, if that's what that gives you your kicks, you can come back into engineering. but it's more likely that you're going to go towards some management course or some course which involves having a team under you, something of that sort, where you'll be able to strategize, where you'll be able to direct things in a team. Those kind of actions can be taken, right? I mean, this is something that our engineering teaches us how to think in a certain way when it comes to a very specific set of actions, right? If you want to, let's say, design a jig that your mechanical engineering will teach you. If you want to let's say have a set of processes for operations management that your mechanical engineering might teach you. But if you're planning on leading a team, if you're planning on gaining skills which might come in handy in the corporate world, that might not come in from your engineering. So that's the reason why after completing mechanical engineering and working in sales and marketing, not really sales, but in like a corporate function related to marketing, I felt that the best way might be to move away from engineering and further into the sphere of marketing, right? And yeah, one thing leads to the other. Once you're in an MBA college, there are very few streams to pick from. You've got MBA, you've got marketing, you've got finance, you've got HR, and you've got
Yes.
operations and IT, right? So, and the skills that you gain in any of these functions become applicable to a variety of industries or organizations. So whether it is automobile or whether it is FMCG, whether it is financial services, anything, right? You can have marketing in any industry. So that really opens up the playing field for you. That was more or less kind of the reason why I decided to get into marketing at NMMS.
Okay. So, apart from work, you also like to travel. So, like, yeah. So, what would be like your favorite place so far that you have been to?
So over the past few years, I've been like, to a few countries traveling with both family and alone, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of you will get that chance, but I suggest if you do get the chance to travel, you must travel alone. I did a solo trip to Japan, and that remains my most fond memory. So immediately after my MBA, around 2017, yeah, no, so not immediately after, like a year after, during my Tata Motors time, I went along to Japan, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever taken. A lot of you will probably end up working abroad alone and away from your families and all. But if you do happen to not work abroad, stay back and just study here or work here, it makes sense to have that life experience. Especially, I mean, don't go right now, the COVID situation, but once the situation improves, I'm sure the kind of experience that you'll have interacting with people from another nation, planning for your experiences all on your own, or just meeting new people. I think that's something that has a lot of value in terms of your growth, personal growth. So definitely, Japan was superb for me. Like Tokyo and Mount Fuji, and seeing those places, meeting new people, eating new foods. Of course, what do I say? I mean, it's superb eating a new cuisine every day for a few days. I mean, and just living, I mean, freely for a few days when you're alone. Compared to maybe a lot of you might be living with your families, right? I mean, and it's a good experience to just go alone. I know you might face some backlash. I mean, I had to convince my parents to go abroad at that point in time alone, but yeah, it was completely worth it. When you come back, you're a changed person. So totally recommend going abroad alone. And of course, I mean, with families or even with friends, you must do holidays, maybe to Goa, even if it's nowhere else, just to Goa. I mean, it's something that you must do. So always good to travel, always good to meet new people, get new experiences, and learn from those
Did you have to learn Japanese that you went to
experiences.
Japan?
So the thing is, honestly, at that point in time, there was it was just Japanese everywhere, right? I mean, up until very recently, with the Tokyo Olympics coming along, that's 2020, they were very English averse, so to say. I mean, they were not using English on their signboards, and not using any other language other than Japanese on all their documents and all that. So yeah, you have to do a little bit of preparation. I personally didn't learn the language, but it's all, you have a lot of these apps nowadays. Yeah, it's always easy to download
Translate.
one, and not even translate, like just get to know the phrases, like the basic phrases. It's always
Yeah.
good to have those at the back of your head, and just be ready in case something is needed urgently. Like even if you have to order something at a restaurant, it's good to know, like, right? I mean, a lot of you
Yeah.
Right.
might be allergic to something, and it's good to know that, okay, here's what I need to say if I'm allergic to something, or here's when I need help. So it's a good idea. And in general, I mean, it's such a polite nation. I mean, when I'm speaking about Japan, I'm specifically talking about that place, that it's a very polite and generous nation where if you interact nicely with the people, they are very friendly with you. So it's always good to know those basic phrases, like excuse me, or thank you, or good morning, those kind of phrases.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
The
good to,
pleasantries. Yeah.
yeah. So best to learn that before going.
Um, that brings me, like, the thing is, you're currently working at JLR. So what's your experience there? It's like a huge
So
company, right?
so here's the thing. JLR is an aspirational brand that a lot of people aspire to work at. Honestly speaking, I don't think I would have gotten into a company like JLR without having worked at, let's say, a Mahindra or a Tata Motors. All of this adds to it at the end of it, right? Where you are currently is a sum of where you've been previously. So JLR specifically, I think was where I got to only because of the kind of work ex I had at Mahindra, at Tata Motors. And so to speak, I mean, JLR is a subsidiary of Tata Motors technically. So I'm still working with the Tata Motors company technically. But all in all, I think getting those experiences from Tata Motors, meeting people, I'll tell you how it happened, how I got into JLR. So uh, while I was at Tata Motors, a senior at Tata Motors was present. I mean, like, you interact with a lot of leaders, a lot of seniors, and sometimes you have small engagements with few mentors or some seniors who guide you, who help you with what work you're doing, and you never know where those engagements lead on to in the future, because it's always important to have those interactions though, is what I feel. Because in my case at Tata Motors, the person I was working with, I mean, we just happened to have like few conversations over work, and he happened to move out of Tata Motors to move on to JLR. And one fine day, he happened to chance across my CV saying that, okay, you got some work ex that's relevant to the role that we're looking to hire for. And because I knew him, it added that extra value, right? Because he knew me, so he was able to recommend me for that role since he was already there, and I happened to get into and JLR. So I think the biggest takeaway from this for me is that if you're looking to work in a corporate organization, it's always good to interact with others. Don't just do
Right.
whether it's engineering or whether it's something else, go beyond the scope of your work. Just interact with other teams, other people, get to know them for who they are. And when you do that, I mean, don't go with the purpose of getting a better job in the future. Just go ahead and interact for the sake of knowledge more than
Yeah.
anything else. I think when you do that, somewhere or the other, these things click and everything works out the way it has to. Yeah. So I got, in a way, it's lucky, right? I mean, it's lucky that the person I interacted with at Tata Motors happened to go back to JLR and then recommend me over there. I got lucky, but sometimes these things just work out for you. So you need to be ready for those opportunities and take up those opportunities. And for me, JLR was that opportunity. And as an aspirational brand, it is one of the most aspirational ones in India, especially,
Yep.
and globally. And working here in India, we're a small market for JLR globally, but we do sufficient number of sales to let's say warrant our own separate niche as a country. So it's always a good experience to interact. So I'll give you a gist of my day. I have calls from morning till evening with the local team, and then as the day progresses to the second half, through the second half, I have calls with the UK team, because our JLR decision making happens from UK, right? I mean, mainly it happens from UK. So my role is not limited to India at all. I do interact with the UK team, and we do get things done both locally and globally. A lot of changes we make locally get recommended abroad, and they get implemented in other nations. So we have other markets where best practices get picked up and used in other markets, right? So it's always important to know that the work that you're doing adds value to the organization, and to accordingly work with that in mind. So if you just think to yourself that, okay, I'm just working, and what I'm doing doesn't make a difference to the organization, that's not true at all. When you guys start working, especially at the initial stage, you're going to find that a lot of the work that you might get initially might be operational. Okay, when I say operational, I mean things like paperwork. I mean things like getting things done for bosses in terms of moving files from here to there, or going and speaking to other teams regarding setting up meetings, or even something as simple as getting coffee. Yeah, that's also possible. But you guys need to understand that along with this comes learning. I mean, this is not the only thing that you'll be doing, and the learning that you get is going to add value to your overall growth. So whatever these small jobs that you do alongside your work, please be okay to doing that at the start of your career, because later on you will grow to greater heights. I mean, you will learn more, you will be able to perform well in your organization as you proceed. So JLR, in that sense, automobile company, we manufacture some vehicles locally, but mostly abroad, and it's a great experience working here. Yeah, I mean the brand. We have people. I mean at the premium luxury segment who purchase our vehicles, and great experience working here.
So I would say like a majority of the students who are in the mechanical department, especially, they have this, dream to work for one of the big automobile companies or any like co-mechanical companies. But then the thing is, in India, there aren't as many
Yes.
as compared to say the IT jobs. So sometimes they feel,
Right.
like kind of inclined towards taking those kind of jobs. So what would you say for these students that could, some advice that could help them, uh, like make a career in say one of these core companies?
Okay, so here's the thing. Firstly, when you say core mechanical companies, with the advent of digital and technology, everything has moved away from mechanical. Honestly speaking, I'll tell you, even when I was moving out of DBIT, everything had moved away from core mechanical. You obviously do have manufacturing still, but the kind of focus that's there on manufacturing is much lesser as compared to tech and IT and all these kind of spaces, right? So you are going to face that. Be well prepared that you're going to face that dearth of jobs for mechanical and for let's say manufacturing, design, these spaces. If you do want to specifically get into something related to engineering going forward, it's a good idea to consider doing an MTech, uh, either an MTech or an MS. If you are planning on going abroad, then it's a good idea to consider studying further. If you want to simply get onto a job, uh, especially for mechanical guys, please be prepared for a serious dearth of jobs. Right now, the industry in general is down. I don't want to sound sad or morose about it, but it might help you to broaden your outlook to other spaces. Don't be fixated on only core engineering. There are a lot of jobs uh, which rely on you managing people, or which rely on you interacting with others rather than sitting at a desk and applying what you've learned in engineering. So please be open to those kind of jobs. I'm not saying, I mean, it might be your passion. It definitely might be your passion to do engineering, and you would need to look out for those jobs very specifically in different organizations. But it's a fact that there is a serious dearth. So don't limit yourself. I'm saying, if there is a serious dearth of jobs, please be open to looking at other spaces to get into. Please be open to sales and marketing in the organization of your dream, or even if it isn't the organization of your dream, don't get fixated on your dream organization. A lot of times people I've seen, especially during my engineering phase, I saw a lot of people who were hoping to get into specific companies and then had to settle for something lesser. And I mean, the problem is when you think of it as settling for something lesser, you're going to have to settle, right? And all I mean to say is that work experience is work experience. Get into an organization which is somewhere close to what you like, and try and deliver your work over there. I think that's the single biggest way to moving forward. Don't be disappointed if you don't get into your dream company or your dream job. Try and get as close as possible to it, and then work your way upwards. That might make more sense. And one thing that I have personally found when among peers, among colleagues, among people who are looking to get that initial job, is that we are afraid to ask for referrals or references, ask our references to help us. And please note that it's a really competitive market in terms of jobs, right? I mean, you have people from a lot of different colleges coming, trying to vying for the same job. And I'm sure that your placement scenario might have improved over time. I mean, back at our time, we did have some placements happening, but a large chunk of the batch had to look for jobs on their own. So a lot of them went abroad, a lot of them went into shipping, some of them went into marketing, some of them went into some of them got into engineering jobs. But the thing was that we had to fend for ourselves mostly. The thing, I hope your placement scenario has improved right now, but if it hasn't, please note that using references, using family, using friends is an accepted practice. Okay, it is not something to look down upon. If you're not getting the job at that dream company, it is okay to try and look for a connection, like an uncle, aunt, cousin, anybody who works in that dream organization, and ask them to help you out with getting that job. Many people hold themselves back. You will find this. I mean, ask your peers. A lot of them will still tell you, how can I take help from them? Why should I take help? Yeah. So please don't do that. It's okay to take help, but get that. I mean, be indebted to that person who's helped you. It's okay to be indebted, but it's better for you to take that help and get into that dream role rather than keep your ego and not get into that dream role, right? So ask for help. Ask family, ask friends. A lot of organizations you will find are more willing to accept people into that job that you're looking for through a reference. So if there is, even if it's not somebody high up in the organization, even if it's somebody who's already working there and at some mid managerial or just managerial or even at an executive level, it's okay. If they refer you, it means that it's making their HR's job easier, right? So be open to asking for help on jobs. I think that's one big thing for me to advise you guys.
Okay, thank you, Edlebert, for that wonderful information regarding your career, and also you gave some really good advice to our fellow students here who are studying.
Okay, so now that we are done with the conversation, we shall dive into the game segment. So this is a small game which we have. We played it with our previous alumni, and he liked it, so we feel we should continue this one. It's called Never Have I Ever, but with a DBIT twist.
Okay.
So let me just explain it. Like the first, an example would be, never have I ever gone to Imagica, probably. So if
Yeah.
you have, then you wave your hand on the screen. But if you haven't, you don't do anything.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So we begin, but this will be related to DBIT.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question: never have I ever bunked a lecture.
Oh, if I haven't, no,
If
I
you
have.
have,
Of
you
course I
raise your hand.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So never have I ever eaten in class during a lecture.
Of course I have. Of course I have.
The next one is, never have I ever studied for the wrong paper.
I think this was something a lot of us did, especially with all that we used to extracurricular activities that we used to do, and like there was one time in mechanical engineering, I think in the third or fourth sem, some big paper was there, and we studied for the completely wrong subject. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. So, but regarding that eating in class thing, the entire class used to eat simultaneously. So yeah, good times there. Go on.
Okay, the last one, which we have here is, never have I ever pranked a teacher.
Oh, I haven't. No, I've not done that. The rest of the guys have.
Even you? You haven't pranked a teacher, Ruben?
I think my teachers are watching this, but
You can't risk it. Good,
I would
good,
say
good.
no.
Not
No.
you can't say it yet.
Okay.
Maybe after 2 years you'll be able to tell
Yeah.
the truth, right?
A couple of months, actually. No, a month, I think. After that, you can,
Yeah.
reveal what
Nice,
you
nice.
did.
Super. Good,
Yeah.
good.
So thank you so much, Edlebert, for playing this game with us.
Thanks, Rizal. Thanks, Ruben. It was a
Yeah.
nice chat with you guys.